What is there to say about Ocarina of Time that hasn't been said before? The gameplay, the story, the vibe, the sheer emotional power of our boy Darunia killing it to Saria's song. People way more talented than me have said everything that needs to be said about this game. So let's talk about something a little stranger and a little more speculative that I think is kind of interesting because I don't hear people talking about it at all. After Link opens the Door of Time and touches the Master Sword, Ganondorf's plans come to fruition. He's able to invade the Sacred Realm and get his hands on the Triforce. The Triforce, of course, is the last relic of the three goddesses that created Hyrule. Din, the goddess of power, Nayru, the goddess of wisdom, and Farore, the goddess of courage. Each of them having created a piece or a third of the Triforce. The Triforce itself holds immense power, the kind that mortals can only dream of. But it also holds a will, or maybe we should say it holds three wills. When Ganondorf touches the Triforce, two of the thirds reject him, instead reaching out and seeking more suitable hosts. But one stays, granting him the power to do everything he wants. This power lets him corrupt the sacred realm and fill the world with darkness. And this blessing by the goddess will stay with him for several games in the timeline. This one action causes unparalleled destruction and chaos. And this goddess is the one I wanted to talk about. This is the story of Din, the Betrayer. Part 1. Wisdom. Something that's fun in fantasy stories is that oftentimes the deities found within have very direct and real impacts on the stories. Therefore, religion in these stories is a little different than the way we imagine it here. For example, when we hear the great Deku Tree talk about the myth of the three goddesses creating Hyrule, we may understand it as, a creation myth. But for them it's not. It's just history. It's just a fact. There's no reason to doubt the goddesses, in the same way I don't doubt that the trees will grow every year, or that the broccoli I plant will be eaten by rabbits every year. It's just facts. What's interesting is in Ocarina, this creates the opposite kind of situation than you would expect, because despite the realness of the goddesses, no lasting religion really seems to be built around them. Their temples are empty, and the people don't seem to pray to them. Even the wars that are fought seem to be more about the conquest of land than about religious conflict. Turns out, when it's so certain, you don't need to believe in the same way. So what do you do when the goddess of power blesses the one who's come to destroy your lands? Maybe we're looking at this from the wrong angle though, because the golden goddesses are not necessarily the patron deities of the Hylian people. They are the gods of the world. By that I mean, they might not really serve one allegiance over the other, and if they do, it might not be in the way that you expect. And likewise, it could be the other way around. Perhaps they can't understand us. They didn't save Link's family. Why would they save yours? Another thing that the Zelda games have in common with fantasy is this goal to return to a more peaceful time. On Middle-earth, we look for a time where the people were more trusting of each other and united, and all you had to do was speak friend to enter. We think of Avatar and how long ago the four nations lived in harmony. We think of Azeroth before the Scourge. How Silent Hill used to be a sacred place. Peace exists in the past, and we must return to it. Often, that is the change our protagonists enact. The return path involves undoing the evils of Saruman, to destroy the factories of the Fire Nation. Link undoes the curses of Ganondorf. Link does not change the world, he fixes it. And the goddesses seem to agree to that, lending us their power. And yet still, Din betrays the Triforce. Part 2. Courage. I'm going to ask a strange question. Is there courage in a fated journey? If destiny pulls you through a story, is bravery really required? There's courage in believing your destiny, but after that, it's follow-through. Neo has to believe he's the one in order to stop bullets. Macbeth must believe that he will be king to do his murderous act. Likewise, Link has to trust in the power of the goddesses. He has to learn to trust how Zelda's lullaby reacts to the world and the symbols of the Triforce, or trust the sages as they reveal themselves to him as being people from both his past and his future. The threads have already been woven, and it is our part to play to control Link and head him towards his destiny as the hero of time. But speaking of the sages, Twilight Princess really brings to light the cruelty of Din's betrayal. We watch Ganondorf turn a holy weapon of the goddesses against the very sages that worship them. I really feel for them. The sages say it's a divine prank, but I do feel like they were set up to fail. Of course, it's nebulous if the goddesses had ordered the sages to execute Ganondorf, or it was their idea and they just didn't know what they were dealing with. Considering that the sages' goal is to maintain the peace in Hyrule and to follow the wishes of the goddesses, it's almost funny to watch that divine protection be pulled from them in an instant, almost foreshadowing what's going to happen to Ganondorf a bit later. But let's talk about that peace they're fighting for a second. That peace, it's stagnation and ruin, isn't it? I don't mean to be harsh here, but Hyrule isn't really working out as a nation, or maybe even as a world. Each game we watch it descend into darkness and chaos, only for us to pull it back into peace at the last moment. No matter how many times we bring the people together, no matter how many times we drive the shadows out, ruin inevitably has to happen for us to go back. For Hyrule, peace is like an exhale, a sigh, a release of the energy, but cannot last forever. Eventually, you do need to breathe in. The story has to keep going beyond peace. The kingdoms must fall. The people must lose trust in each other. The relics and the sacred weapons must be lost again. We're brought to the brink once again, looking for another hero to save us, looking for us to repeat the cycle. But not this time, because this time, Din betrays the Triforce. Part 3. Power. It's easy to speculate why Din made her choice. She is first of the goddesses after all. She's the one who made the land of Hyrule out of nothing. Perhaps she thinks she's the only one who did their job right. Perhaps she disagrees with the law that Nayru enacted upon the world. Maybe she thinks that the living creatures that Furore created have failed to uphold that law. Maybe she agrees with Ganondorf's viewpoint that the powerful should lead. Or maybe she just wants change. In the Zelda series, it is always Ganondorf's power that enacts change upon the world. Zelda's wisdom identifies it, and Link's courage fixes it. But it is that power that is always the instigator of the whole event, the start of the change. Without the darkness, the kingdom would wither, no chance for a hero to step up and fix it. Without the darkness, the people would never reunite. Din's fire burns, but it also guides the way. In the most horror-themed dungeon in Ocarina, the Shadow Temple, you cannot even enter it without knowing Din's fire. She is always the first to step into the darkness. Don't evoke her name lightly. You might regret it. And it's hard to say her gambit didn't pay off. When we look at timelines, Ocarina of Time is always the focal point, the moment where one timeline splits into 3, creating many, many different versions of Hyrule like we couldn't imagine. Change. And it's not like her favor stays with Ganondorf forever. She does eventually leave him to his death, which is pretty metal. But still, I wonder what this means for the people of Hyrule. Will most of them ever know what had happened? Will they still pray to her in dark times? Her status as a goddess, it extends eternally. To Hyrule, she will always be the goddess of power. But to me, she will always be Din, the betrayer.